Hey, what's up, everyone? Barbara Chris here, your nutritionist and weight loss coach. I have helped my clients lose hundreds of pounds and inches collectively. I've helped my clients put their type 2 diabetes in remission, reduce or get off prescription medications, and so much more. Now, today I'm bringing on one of my clients. Her name is Laura Cantikin, and she's out of New York City. She's an amazing lady, and I don't want to get into it now because you're going to hear it directly from her. But I'm bringing her on because she has hit some significant milestones, not only in weight and body fat percentage and her activity levels, but I would say even more importantly, how long she's been able to keep it off and keep going. You're going to love her story. You're going to love her for sure. So without any further ado, check out Laura. Hey, Laura, I'm so glad that you joined me tonight. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
It's really my pleasure,
Oh,
Barbara.
yeah, I know. First of all, before we get into the story about you, I have to say congratulations. You hit a milestone. I guess it was last week. You hit a milestone in your weight, you hit a milestone in body fat percentage, and your blood sugar levels have been great, among so many other things. But before we get into, like I said, the story about amazing Laura, why don't you just share a little bit about yourself so that those of my our friends, family who are listening in or watching this actually can get to know you just a little bit.
So I guess I'll start with who I am. I'm a New Yorker. I live and work in Manhattan, and I've been uh, a news producer for about 8 years now. It's a very demanding job. I help a lot of reporters, and I do live broadcasting, documentaries, digital. I kind of have to be always on.
Yeah.
So attention often gets diverted to my phone, my professional life. And then at the same time, I really like to socialize. I have a great community here, a lot of friends. I went to school here, and it's just something that really, I'm an extrovert, so it really fills me up and gives me a lot of energy. Um, I think over the last few years, like everybody else, I've been really struggling to, like, I guess, find routine and meaningful routine. And
Hmm.
so that's sort of, I think, part of what led me to you.
Yeah. Oh, that was a great summary of you. I think that everyone could get a really good taste of what you're like because you are absolutely, I mean, and I think you're amazing, but I love when you talk about your job and the things that you do, as well as this, like you said, the social scene, which I think will be really important for us to touch on each of those things too, because not only have those been, like great things in your life, they've also created a bit of like challenges as well, right? I mean, we've worked through a
Definitely.
lot of those as far as your health and fitness goals and is with respect to that. So I want to touch on, I actually pulled up your file like from the start, like your intake file when we first met. And
Oh,
one of the
wow.
things, yeah, one of the things, and so now finally the lady who I share this with my other clients about decision fatigue. Now you all get to see who was the person here that brought up decision fatigue. And one of the main things that you shared with me when we first started working together was like you were experiencing decision fatigue when it came to whether it was food or just what to eat or just what to do in general to get, quote unquote healthy. I mean, maybe talk a little bit about that, like what your struggle was with that.
There are so many components. I think naturally, like just by nature, I tend to gravitate like to the next exciting thing, right? So that could mean at the time it meant like, oh, should I go and do this type of exercise class? Should I go for a walk instead?
Mhm.
There's a handful of lunch places where I work that are, I think, like in the healthy sphere.
Mhm.
Is that what I should eat? Should I get like a meal service so I don't have to think about making dinner at home after a long day? There was like, I guess all of these, like, if you will, elements or ingredients
Mhm.
that were kind of interfering with just doing it. Um,
Yeah.
and that part uh, often led down the road of I guess, the path of least resistance, right? So
Mm,
things that were I knew weren't like maybe the best choice for me, either
mm,
even in terms of how I spent my time or how I, got my nutrients for the day,
yeah.
or even how I spent, like, even in terms of what got me energized. I was doing things that were actually making me more lethargic and actually not
Mm,
contributing to, feeling my best self.
yeah. What would you say then? Like when you like you just shared all that, what do you feel um has been the most helpful for you to address that particular struggle that you had?
I think there's a lot of things, but I would say having to face what I did throughout the week, meaning how much water I was drinking, how much,
Mm,
what sort of threshold I was meeting in terms of carb threshold, how
mm,
much protein I was getting with every meal, what type of movement I was doing. Um, just, I guess, being faced with the, if you will, like the cold hard facts. I was like,
yeah.
oh, maybe like I don't need to. And we know this. I was eating a Taco Bell quite a bit. Um,
That
um,
that's for the next question, right?
yeah, but maybe it was like, oh, maybe this isn't working, and I see that room for change there. And
Hmm.
I felt like just seeing the information, and even, when we first started, as everyone does, just being off of things for a while and not missing them, that was big.
Oh, that's actually that's really good insight that I think so many times that we're just so when we think about change, we just think that, oh, there's no way I can do that. But once you actually do it, you realize like, oh my God, I can do that. That's great.
Yeah.
So, which brings me to the next thing. So, yes, that was the whole thing when I should go back, make me say that again. The whole decision fatigue, when you brought that up, because you said there was just so much information out there that it made it hard to really choose for you, like what you should do. It was just like, it was overwhelming. I have so many people that I work with that have felt that and experienced that, which then leads me to the next question about the whole, you talked about like just where you are in the city and that landscape of food and everything that's there. Um, Maybe share a little bit about the challenge that you have or still have actually with the
It's still
food
there.
landscape.
Yeah, it's basically like an everyday obstacle course that you do not have any control over. Um, I have said this once and I'll say it again. I think being in New York, going about your day and not eating absolutely everything in sight is like a miracle. So like basically, when we first kind of got into the nitty gritty of why I was having so much of like a hold up or patterns.
Mhm.
I was looking through like, oh, I have to pass a Belgian waffle stand and the smell of it every single day. Uh,
Right?
so okay, maybe that for a while I have to reroute, literally just go a block out of my way.
Hmm.
Um, and the Taco Bell and McDonald's are next to each other. They're the closest food option, which is also insane, right? Because
Hmm.
like New York, you just don't associate. But those were the closest options. So I had to go one extra block out of my way to get to some more nutritious, fun and like a diversity of foods, really.
Yeah.
But I had to go an extra block, right? Uh,
Hmm.
and then, like, on my way back, there's my favorite pizza stand, and that's on the way back from and I could also smell that. So, I think a lot of just external, like, influence.
Mm,
And
hmm.
we talked about also my office has a communal treat table in the middle.
Yes.
It's next to me every single day, and it's never depleted. I don't know how we've done it. It's
It's
like
a
a
miracle.
barrage. It's a miracle. It just
Yeah.
keeps like replenishing itself
Hmm.
with chocolate chips, cookies, cake, on occasion wine. Um,
Wow.
can't win.
Right.
It
So,
felt
and
like
I
I
re
couldn't win.
yeah, and I remember this too, that and I remember you making this change, and it has to do with preparation. How do you feel preparation in whatever ways that you want to share has helped you out? Because I know that's been, at least from the coach's side, I've seen that change
Well,
in you for sure in
yeah.
dealing with all that.
Well, you know that the grocery store and I had become, I guess, foes. Um,
Hmm.
it was so one of the things I did was sort of to, I guess, batch my things that I was doing with something I was enjoying.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that became like I, really took the opportunity to, if I was exercising and felt good, then just grab a couple of things at the grocery store across the street from there,
Hmm.
but not punish myself by, having to lug it all back in
Right.
on the subway.
Yeah, right.
So,
Because it's not convenient.
right. Basically, I was eliminating those barriers of friction between me and a good choice. So
Yeah.
that meant like doing something I enjoy first, being as close as possible to the grocery store, as
Yeah.
literally as close as possible. And then also, not being exhausted by the task itself, right?
Yeah. No, I mean I love that. And in fact, I think that's really the important thing as far as how you've been able to also hit that a milestone of not only just weight that you've lost, but how long you've kept it off, right? Because I know that's been a struggle for you too. It's been, I know in totality, I think we've been working together, what, 9 months?
Mhm.
And you've kept it off, and that's freaking amazing. So like high five,
High
right?
digital high five.
Hell yeah. I mean, that's an awesome milestone. And so I have to ask then, because you are very social. I mean, you have a very active social life. I mean, you have like the best life. How have you been able to incorporate that social the social setting, the scene that you're very active in, and then still hitting this milestone? Like how'd you make it work?
I think committing to some challenges,
Mm-hmm.
that were external ones, so reinforced. I took like a 3 classes a week
Mm.
challenge. So I had to show up.
Yeah.
Uh, was part of it. The other part of it was, instead of just not going to a social event because of that particular, challenge that it may
Hmm.
face, like being prepared ahead of time, for me, um, like with drinking, making sure there was, you know, uh a friend with me in all of these social situations that wouldn't be going shot for shot with me, right?
Right,
Um,
right.
and if that maybe was the case, then looking to supplement things like, a seltzer water with bitters that
Mm.
wouldn't spike my blood sugar and wouldn't make me feel dehydrated.
Mhm.
Um, and so basically finding a way in, like a key to unlock, I can still be in this social situation.
Yes.
My presence here, and even, Barbara, I don't think I told you this, but like
Mhm.
I have so much respect for people in the service industry and the entertainment industry. I
Mhm.
always want to give them more of my business,
Mhm.
but I could always find, for the most part, ability to do that, you know.
Right, right.
There's few times where I would be in a situation where there wasn't something I could, you know, modify a little bit to eat. And there was
Mhm.
never, no waiter complained, no friend complained.
Yeah.
It did take, and it took an adjustment, I think, on my friends, like in our way of socializing.
Mm,
But
right.
they saw that I was looking different, and they said that must be why.
Ah, yeah. And they were support, and you found that
Supportive, very
supportive,
supportive.
right? But
Yeah.
were you like worried though? Like I think a lot of people do kind of think this way that when they're anticipating this change that they're going to start going through, whether it's in their behaviors, that their friends or the people around them are going to be like, "What's up with that?" And then for you, did it turn out to be totally different than maybe what you were thinking?
I think so because, even friends who I would say we mostly socialize around a glass of wine, there was
Mm,
zero pressure to do so because they were like,
mm.
"Oh, you're finding out new information about yourself, and I'm happy for you."
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
that was great. And then there was other things like, um, a friend of mine is a yoga and cycle instructor.
Hmm.
So it meant that she was like happy to have me in class. Um, and I started going more just because I was like, oh, I would like to incorporate movement today with someone who's encouraging me to do so.
Yeah.
So finding, I guess, new ways to socialize, new ways to connect one on one,
Hmm.
um, and also just things that took me a little bit apart from food. So that like would mean going to more movies, going to more museums, going to the theater more,
Hmm.
um, instead of defaulting to you know dinner, drinks.
Oh, gotcha. But see, okay, so that's really interesting that you share that because I mean, and I get it. You were spot on. But how did you deal with, I'm sure, like in the middle of all of that, there was some friction, right? And it's not as easy as like you're just sharing how you're doing it. I'm sure it was a battle.
Definitely. I think
What was if it was a thing or something that really helped you like just stay the course and like hold on, even though it was hard and it wasn't perfect, like what kept you in the game?
I feel like just looking forward to our meeting. I definitely had your voice in my head.
Yeah.
The voice of Barbara, she's like the angel rather than the devil on your shoulder. But,
What's it with the sparkles?
yeah, a little halo. But that knowing that I had someone in my corner who was
Mm,
gonna say, "Hey, like, how are you feeling after this week?" And I know that, those days of going completely off my program and not really taking care of myself,
hmm.
um, really, it set me up to not wanna keep going.
Yeah.
So, I guess it was our ch I the check-in is really, like, crucial to
Yeah.
keeping going. But also, I I did I understood that, like, the more I did, I quote, unquote, "good things for myself," the more things I was learning about myself. Like, remember that moment where we were talking about jogging? Like, I was like, "I don't I think I'm allowed to say that I like to jog
I
now.
remember.
I'm a jogger." And it was just, I think to a lot of people maybe who are more advanced athletes
Hmm.
or have been exercising a long time consistently, that is like it's like a whatever, it's a blip. But it's to
Right.
me like being able to identify that way and uh feeling accomplished in saying that was was a really big step because it meant that I could play ball, like, I could be part of the wellness, the health journey that I felt like was out of reach, and I could do it on my own terms.
Oh, that's awesome. And do you feel, because there's actually two things here. First of all, I have to actually have to mention that another milestone that you had is in your activity too. I mean, you've hit some like records, during your challenges. I mean, I mean, you were like shocking other people when they saw like the breakdown of the time and your intensity. They're like, hot damn, like
They
girl.
were shocked.
I know. But what about this? Because I remember when we were first starting out, you were doing like your activity. You were really starting with the things that you truly just enjoy doing. I do remember that.
Hmm.
And now you're saying that you're doing these things that you thought, I'm a jogger. Like, you know what I mean? I think that
It's
is so
wild.
inspiring for people to hear because I think so many people think that way. Like they have this perception of themselves and it's kind of in this box,
Yeah, it's
you
like
know?
limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
I find like I found out that, through our work together that there was a lot maybe I was holding on to about what I was physically capable
Mm,
of.
yeah.
Um, and even just you saying like, a little strength training could be fun. Like, and now, like, I just threw some 20-pound kettlebells around today, and I'm like, I'm not in any pain. Like, I, um, I felt like I've worked up to it, right?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, like sometimes I'll see my heart rate monitor and I'm like, I didn't even know that my heart could do that. And like quite frankly, 9 months ago, it really couldn't. Um
Yeah.
and and then other things like um just I think the desire to take care of myself
Mhm.
as like yeah, like a quote unquote healthy person, right?
Yeah.
Have a meal like ready to go. I think before I didn't imagine myself having even energy or inspiration to make a fillet a piece of wild salmon and like steam a vegetable
Hmm.
or like make a protein fiber rich breakfast before I left for work. And then there are days, many days when I do both of those things. So, yeah, I think it's like the self-limiting beliefs and getting out
Yeah.
of your own head of what kind of person you are because you don't really know until you keep at it.
Right. Or you even just
Like,
give yourself a chance.
yeah, like I didn't if someone had told me last year, "Oh, you're like swing a 20-pound kettlebell around like on a Tuesday, and that's gonna be like normal for you, and you're gonna actually like go grocery shopping and you'll have like all of your nutritional needs met like for the week afterward, and then like you'll jog a mile and a half like no problem, and you won't have any pain or like it generally, like, when I look at what has happened in
Mhm.
a relatively short period of time,
Yeah.
it's it is, like, truly change of mindset, right? It's change of
Yeah.
attitude. So, there's
Mm.
no yeah, and through our time together, you've seen, like, I've had periods of times where it was really hard for me to move or do anything.
Yeah. Right.
Um, so it's not like it has been, uh, not a rocky road at points, but I think just the check-ins of us figuring out what's working and trying to
Yes.
do it in a small way, grant
Mhm.
yourself some grace, right?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, I was gonna
there
say that too along the way. I mean, how did showing yourself a little self-love, how did that play into your journey?
I think, like, the fact that we've really emphasized that getting rid of stress and finding
Mhm.
points to truly enjoy sleep and make that a priority,
Mhm.
that is actually what triggers, like, sustainable weight loss and change. But it was like a new level unlocked, you know?
Yeah.
But I think honestly, the discourse, right, that we're told or society tells us or
Yes.
we're exposed to is that it's just diet and exercise. And these are such elusive, kind of pie in the sky concepts. And then
Yeah.
we learn that there's other components of like resting and
Hmm.
de-stressing that I had to start incorporating very deliberately
Yeah.
to
And you
make it
did, I mean,
work.
yeah, you totally did. I mean, I remember your day shifting too, right? Going to bed
Yeah,
and then how time you woke up, all of that.
yeah.
What would you say is something that you've learned about yourself during this time that surprises you? I mean, I know you shared a couple things already, but there's been a lot in there, and want to
So
give you a chance to share some of that.
I think I think there's not a lot of support for um in particular single women. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
single caretakers above all, there's
Mm-hmm.
not a lot. But when one is doing has to do again all the decisions for themselves, so the decision fatigue, they
Mm-hmm.
have to make the choice to take care of just themselves, not because someone is depending on them,
Mm-hmm.
um, but for just their own preservation. That's
Mm-hmm.
like a very, very hard um, uh, thing to sustain. And I
Mm,
feel
yeah.
like that's like such a big lesson of like, oh, I'm able to do this in my own way, on my own terms, in
Mm,
small steps. And it doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be
mm-hmm.
um a very tight, almost military style uh
Mm. Yes,
type of
gotcha.
discipline. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to involve food I don't like.
Right.
This is that my hidden secret though is that I do like all foods. So I think that
Yeah. And you're cooking now too, right? You're
yeah,
trying some
exactly.
things out. Yeah, you're open to things. I think that's actually, yeah, that's a plus that I believe that sometimes um change can scare us, right? We kind of want to stay in our zone of where we're comfortable. And that's definitely been a great characteristic of you is that change has not been just, it hasn't been easy for you, but you've definitely have been open to trying new things. And I think that the angle that we took a lot of trying to incorporate just the things that you enjoy with some tweaks, right? We just constantly kind of like tweaking things along
Right.
the way. And I think with enough time, you were able to experience the fact that you actually feel pretty damn good when you do those things. Like I remember you like, I actually like kicked some ass when I went to Orange Theory this week, and yeah, and actually, I put in, I forgot how like you when you walk to work or the walk that you put in. I mean, share with people like this is walking. I mean, how many miles do you put in just
Oh,
to get
just
to
in my
work
work
alone?
day. Yeah, I'm on my feet quite a bit. So,
Yeah,
and I take all public transportation.
yeah.
So, you know, but sometimes, a lot of the time, actually, I deliberately, will walk further so I can
Hmm.
have like an average day for me, just commuting and going to work is like easily 3.5 miles of walking,
Wow.
but it's often in the warmer months, it's often 6, 7,
Hmm.
and then in the weekends, it's like that too because, like, I want to be out and
Hmm.
about.
Right? The
So,
social scene, right?
yeah, exactly. It's like reimagining what the social part of me needs, right?
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I think just, willingness to see yourself in a different light is a big one.
Ah. That's yeah. See yourself in a different light and then, really holding on to those things that kind of make you feel and you just feel better and making those a priority too amongst all the other priorities like you have going on and the responsibilities that you have, like you said, doing for yourself. I want to ask, as we start to kind of tie this up, what is something that that you would share with someone who, let's say, is in the beginning stages of their journey and maybe feeling very unsure, maybe scared, fearful of feeling like they're going to have to give up life as they know it, or, whatever the fears that someone might be thinking of and going through. What are some words of wisdom that you would share now that you're on this side?
I would say the f- you've already taken the first step, which is recognizing that you need
Mm,
support and
mm,
lean into that support. And then recognize the people in your corner. People will surprise you
mhm.
in what they can offer.
Yeah.
And, you know, reach out, say, don't be afraid to say, hey, instead of like going out for happy hour, let's just go take a walk and watch the sunset. That's just as pleasurable, if not more.
Yeah.
Um, and then the other thing I would say is incorporate things you enjoy every day, and those things can be, you know, sustaining you on your journey. Like
Mm.
I, you know, if you love um fruit, if you love,
Yeah.
dancing, if you love, you know, LaCroix, these are all things that um, are really necessary. I mean, for anybody, I think a lot of people, those are what get you enjoyable moments throughout the day that offer you something back in return. That's going
Mm.
to seem more and more appealing the more and more you do it.
Oh, I love that. And I just thought of something when you're talking about things that you like. So you have to share the story about the keeper of beets and what I thought it was because it was during a check-in.
Yeah, what was the exercise we were talking about? Like, how would you describe yourself?
I
And I
yeah,
was
was it
like,
like I think it was like
yeah, I'm a
self-perception or something like that?
self-perception. I was like, I'm a friend, I'm a New Yorker, um, I'm a jogger, I'm a keeper of beats. That's where that I don't know where it came from, but I meant beats like Beats, like music, dance, parties, like
Yeah.
and your face was amazing because you were like, "Oh, I didn't know you were into beats so much." And it took me a second, and I was like, "Oh, no, I don't mean, like, the vegetable." And
Oh
you're like,
my God.
"Oh my god.
I'm like, I was so in my zone of like
You're
nutritionist,
in
right?
the food zone,
I
in the
was.
nutrition zone."
I was like, damn, girl, you love some beets. Keeping the beets.
I mean, I don't not like beets, but
I know. You do, like you just said it. You like all the food. So I
I
mean,
do like all the food. Yeah, I don't have any real yeah, that's the other thing, like, you gotta try something a handful of times
mm,
before you know, right?
yeah,
So I hear and see a lot of people, outside of what we're doing here with your coaching,
yeah,
who they really get deterred and put off from, I don't know, adhering to the same 3 meals every day
mhm,
for weeks on end, or they get deterred because they're like, oh, I need to do this type of exercise. It doesn't really work for me. It's like,
right.
N n n no, that's like that
Yeah.
has never been nobody on earth has done a sustainable, healthy lifestyle by doing things that feel unnatural or counterintuitive to how they would take care of themselves. Your body already knows what it needs. It will tell you how
Hmm.
to keep it up.
Well said. Isn't that true, right? Sustainability, enjoying things. I love this message, and that's why I wanted to get you on this interview because you have so much wisdom and just the lessons that you've learned of what your journey is, right? And how I know I've told you, many times about how even on your journey there's so many people that you're inspiring along the way just by doing the things that are good for you, like you said, that resonate with you, that just make you happy and glow, right? People are gonna be like, what are you doing? I mean, you're like, things are just going really well, like what's up with that, right? And you're inspiring people just like that. So thank you so much, beautiful lady. for
Thank
taking the time to
you.
share with me. Maybe before we totally end, I just want to give you the chance for any kind of closing thoughts that you would like to share with people listening in and just feeling like they need that message. Like what is it, what can you give them like that nugget to just really help them out?
While I would say while routine is very calming, it's very paramount to the whole process.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're beginning the journey or you're plateauing or you feel like you're at some sort of goal or precipice or something, I think shaking up routine sometimes is really good. That's
Could be
why,
interesting. Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's why, um, changing, changing out like, oh, and tonight I'm gonna actually have some sashimi because I
Mm-hmm.
usually just make a salmon at home. Or tonight, instead of going to like the gym, I'm gonna just go out dancing with my friends. Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you have to prioritize your like what seems like the mental boost you need
Mm-hmm. Got
in
it.
order
Mm-hmm.
to make a sustainable, healthy choice the next time.
Yes. So, like you said, almost like more of a holistic approach, right? Like you said, to sustain or to do something in a sustainable fashion, it can't just be like one thing all the time. You've got to incorporate all those other things that make you a whole person. So,
Right.
it's not just the food, even though food's important, right? And it's not just the exercise, even though it's important, but it's the social part and all those other things that make Laura tick, right?
Yes, keeper of bees.
Yeah, the keeper of beats. All right, lady. Well, thank you so much for doing this and taking the time to share your story. Like I said, I know you're going to inspire so many people. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, there you go. Miss Laura's story is just absolutely inspirational, right? I am so happy that you tuned in. If you have any questions, if you want to learn more about coaching with me, feel free to leave a message where you see this video, whether it's on YouTube or any of my social media platforms. I will leave my contact information below, whether it's on email, DM, but more than anything, if you have questions, feel free to reach out. And I'd be happy to connect with you, offer you a complimentary consultation so you can learn more about how it is to work with me. But other than that, I'll see you on the next one. Bye, guys.